Hi everyone, this is Dawn. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a slimline card using Joyful Sunflower stamp and thin cuts. So this is the stamp set, and I'm going to be using the 3 sunflower images and the thin cuts. I'm also using some papers from Timber and the mix-ins. So I've loaded my sunflowers onto my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp in black ink on vanilla cardstock. So I'm going to ink everything up and get these images down. They're larger images, and so I find they're easier to stamp when you use the MISTI. But you can use a large block if you want to do that as well. And then I'm stamping a second set because I'm not sure how many sunflowers I'm going to want to use. So we'll get those stamped down. And the beauty of the MISTI is that if you miss a part of the stamped image, you can fix it by inking it up and stamping it again. So I'm cleaning everything up and I'll get it out of the way. And now I'm bringing in my tri-blend markers and I'm going to color in these images. Okay, in a minute I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, I finished up all the coloring off camera, and now I'm going to cut my images using the thin cuts. So I've brought in my Big Shot, and I'm going to line up all of these dies over the images, and it makes it a lot easier if you have some purple tape or some low tack washi to make sure that your dies don't move around once you get them put down. And you can use your purple tape over and over again, quite a few times. So I'm going to run that through. Now I've got my sunflowers all cut out. Okay, and then we'll start designing the card. Okay, so this is a slimline card, and it's a piece of vanilla cardstock that I have cut at 7 3/4 by 7, and then I've scored it down the middle at 3 1/2. And you can make a larger slimline at 8 by 3 1/2 if you like. They fit into a business envelope. I just happen to have some envelopes that are a little bit smaller than that, so I'm making this card so that it fits my envelopes. So I'm cutting a piece of the timber paper at 3 1/2 by 7 3/4, and that's going to be my card front. And I'm going to cut 3 circles. And then behind those circles, I'm going to have some other pattern paper. So I'm kind of deciding what papers the sunflowers pop against. And I decided that I'm going to do 2 of the circles, the windows, with the green mix-in paper, and then 1 with the craft polka dot. So I'm going to cut my green paper down to 1/4 inch smaller, because it's going to go behind that piece of timber paper. So I want it to be just a little bit smaller. And off camera, I have created a template, and I cut a piece of paper at cardstock at the same size as my slimline card, and then I've lined up the 3 circles and cut them out. So now all I have to do is tape it to my timber paper and then kind of saddle those dies in each of those windows so that they will cut out evenly on my timber paper. And then I can use that template over and over again. And I measured everything out so that it was evenly spaced on that template. So I'd have my circles lined up straight and even. So now I can make more slimline cards using that template. So I've got my circles all cut out of my timber cardstock here. Okay, so now I can start laying everything out on my card front and figuring out where I want things to go. So this other piece of craft polka dot paper, I needed a circle that was just a smidge larger than the circle that I cut out of the timber cardstock. So I did that off camera as well. So I cut that out, and that's going to sit behind that center circle. So I'm just going to lay everything out before I start gluing, just to figure out the positioning of all of my elements on my card front. So I'm going to have flowers in each of these windows, and I decided that one on the right needed another flower tucked behind. And then I have this thanks die, and I believe it's from Lawnfawn, and I've cut that out of the light side of saffron. I've die cut that, so that's going to be my sentiment. So now I'm just going to start gluing things down. I'm going to glue that piece of green mix-in paper directly to the card front. And I'm just making sure that it's positioned correctly. And then I'm placing that craft polka dot circle in the center. And this is a little tricky, trying to figure out exactly where to place it. So I'm lining everything up and kind of looking at the measurements on my verse mat to make sure I get it placed correctly. But I'm using wet glue so that I can shift it around to get it positioned right before I actually flatten it out and place it down. Okay, so now I've decided to use some Tombow tape runner because I need to leave the bottom portion of that panel on the front not connected so that I can slide my flowers in. So I'm just kind of figuring things out before I actually start gluing. And so I'm just going to put some tape runner on this timber panel. And then I'm going to leave those bottom portions open so that I can slide the flowers in. Okay, so we'll get that placed down on my card front. And I'm going to pop most of these flowers with thin foam tape. And it's always good to get things positioned and just to check and make sure before you actually put your adhesive down. So we're getting there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start putting foam tape on all of these and getting my flowers positioned. And I decided to keep everything in the video just so you can see the whole process. So get that adhered. We'll do the same thing with the other ones. So this stamp set, Joyful Sunflower, is available until the end of August, and the URL is in the upper right corner of your screen. You can purchase it in my online store, as well as the timber papers and mix-in papers. Those are all available just for a couple more weeks, and then we start into a new catalog. So if you're interested, you should probably get on it pretty quick and make your purchase while it's still available. And I'll put links and a list of all the supplies used for this card in the description below. So that right sunflower, I decided to adhere that direct so that I could layer the other sunflower next to it using foam tape. They're a little fiddly, but you can make it work. Okay, and then I'm just going to trim off the stems of the sunflowers that are sticking out the bottom. So you can trim those, and then they were still kind of sticking out a little bit, so I went back in with my scissors and cleaned it up a bit more. Okay, and then the thanks sentiment, I'm going to adhere that with micro glue dots. We'll get that down. Now we need to add a little bling. So this is gold embellishing thread. And this is a little fussy to work with, but I've just I wrapped it around my fingers, and then I added some glue dots at the very end of the bundle. And then I'm using my piercing tool, and I'm just kind of shoving it underneath there in that circle and underneath the thanks sentiment. And I thought it needed even more bling, so I'm bringing in some gold sequins, and I'm going to scatter a bunch of those around. And those I am adhering with the aqua Tombow glue. So we'll just get all those glued down. And there's my card. I'll have a close-up shot in just a sec. Okay, so I appreciate you watching my video today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And thanks for watching.